I couldn't help but think about you when these stories popped up about the number of Chinese cameras that are all over the Australian Public Service, that are in 88 separate MPs' offices. As somebody who's done as much national security reporting as yourself, how amazed were you when we learnt that this week?
Look, this is actually a topic that we were already looking into, me and my EP, Sarah Kazi, for our first week back. So it kind of broke a little bit early. But, you know, it is shocking because we know, and not just we, but ASIO. ASIO is our top spy agency. ASIO did not have these cameras in their offices. They weren't in the Home Affairs Department. They knew that they're a cybersecurity threat. And they're a cybersecurity threat for two reasons. One is that Chinese companies have to abide by the Chinese national security law so that if the government demands they hand over data, they have to do it. And secondly, because they can act as surveillance operations that could be happening within our government buildings and other infrastructure. But what is so concerning, Paul, is that even though ASIO didn't use these cameras because they knew they were a threat in their own offices and in the Home Affairs offices, they never told all the other government departments. They didn't tell the MPs. And this is fundamentally what is the problem with Australia's approach to national security. There's no overarching body who makes sure that we're not vulnerable. You know, ASIO just worries about itself. And you listen to their Director General, Mike Burgess, give evidence, and he says, well, it wasn't our responsibility to make sure that other government departments and the Parliament and the politicians didn't have these cameras in their offices. Well, if ASIO is, you know, shrugging its shoulders, whose responsibility is it? So, you know, these are the types of issues, as always, that we're looking forward to getting stuck into at 5 o'clock come Monday.
I can't wait. I'm telling you, you need to be there. Front row, 5 o'clock. She'll break the stories that everyone else will follow over the next couple of weeks. Sure, the lefties will point at it, but guess who ends up being right every time? Our mate Sharri, all right? Now, also, the other thing with all of this too is that, remember, ASIO, the blueprints to their headquarters were hacked by the Chinese, right? So you think that they might have a certain vigilance that they'd want in everyone else, including MPs' offices here. But what about the response of China? That when Australia turns around, identifies this and starts pulling them out, they say it's an abuse of state power. Literally, the country that sent international flights everywhere after Wuhan, but domestic flights were banned, the one that's got the Uyghurs and 1 million people that are enslaved in slave labour camps, they're telling us it's an abuse of state power to pull these cameras out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they play the racism card all the time, discrimination against a Chinese company. But look, it's China's own national security law. And what we still need to know, and this is one of the things that we're going to be looking at over the next few weeks, is where is the data stored from the companies like Hikvision and Duaha? You know, these are the brands, the Chinese CCTV brands that are in people's homes, in infrastructure, in government buildings. What has happened to that data? Has any of it been obtained by the Chinese government? This is something that's not easy to answer, but we've got cybersecurity experts at the moment analysing that and trying to track that down. Because then, you know, the Chinese government's response, the minister's response, that this is racism, well, let's have a look. Let's see what they have done with that data. And, Paul, you only have to look with what they're doing with the TikTok data. I mean, it's extraordinary to me that despite the warnings from the United States years ago about the, you know, security concerns around TikTok, that millions of Australians just have it on their phone. They don't care.
This is it, a Chinese surveillance app, but there's cute
no
dancing in it.
On their
Yeah, there's cute. I'm telling you, get rid of it.
No one should have it on their phone.
Absolutely. The Victorian government was telling people to take it off, and then, oh, surprise, surprise, the orders come from up high, whether it's Spring Street or whether it's Beijing. Of course, surprise, surprise, don't offend them. Sharri, again, I love you. You're a super mum. You're an amazing journalist. You're a great TV presenter. And I'm telling you, if you like this show, be there at 5 o'clock each and every night as she kicks off prime time into Peter, into Andrew, into Chris, into me, into Late Debate. Then you, of course, stick around with none other than the front page, Piers Morgan, and then you can go to bed. Thank you, Rockstar. We'll see you on Monday.
You go to bed. Thank you so much for your support. It'd be so great to be back and not just watching it from my bed, trying to keep the baby asleep.
God love you. All right. See you in the car park. Thank you, mate. Sharri Markson back here on Sky News on Monday.